Hello guys and welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to be restoring and using a Dell laptop from 2004. This massive beast has a 17-inch 1920 by 1200 display as well as a high-end for the time Ati Radeon 9700 Pro. This video isn't sponsored, but I'd really appreciate it if you followed me on Twitter as well as Instagram, because I regularly post photos and updates about my upcoming videos. Now, let's open up that box and see whether it survives shipping. I ended up purchasing this 16-year-old laptop off of eBay for $55, which included the shipping. Inside the very empty looking box, we've got the massive brick of a laptop cushioned in some bubble wrap. It weighs just under 8 pounds and I'm pretty sure it's the thickest notebook I've ever owned. Opening it up, we can see it's in alright condition, very filthy, and the screen is also in desperate need for a cleaning. Around the back it has a decent sized dent over the Wi-Fi card door. From here you can easily remove the hard disk, RAM and battery. Inside is the original high-spec 100GB hard disk. The trade-off with this drive is the fact it only spins at 4200 RPM. There were smaller capacity, faster drive options available upon release. Powering on the laptop, it boots into Windows XP Professional. The first thing that struck me was how small all the icons are. Once again, this laptop has an insane for the time 1920 by 1200 display. It also features a 1.6 GHz Intel Pentium 725 and 1 GB of RAM. The multimedia buttons on the front illuminate when pressed, which is pretty neat. Since this laptop is quite dirty, I think it's time we take it apart and see what it's like inside. To begin the disassembly, I removed the battery and every single screw I could see. Under this small metal door, we've got the two DDR RAM DIMMs. The ATA hard disk caddy can also be slid out. It also looks as if something is jammed in the SD card slot. Using some tweezers, I quickly realized it was a 128MB memory card. To gain access to the internals, I had to remove the keyboard. Very carefully, I pried up on the case, and thankfully I avoided snapping it. The keyboard is held in place by two Phillips head screws. Once they're removed, it can be slid up and out. Pulling up on the connectors allows us to disconnect the keyboard. Several more screws hold the top casing in place. It was at this time I thought I should remove the 17-inch screen. Before I do so, I realized that the Wi-Fi antennas have to be taken out with the display assembly. With the video cable detached and the 4 screws holding the hinge in place removed, the screen was off. With a bit of fiddling, we get our first look at the very dusty interior. Even the speakers are literally covered in the stuff. It also looks like the CPU fan didn't fare much better. To get access to the socketed CPU, I loosened the 4 screws holding the cooler in place. Yikes, that can't be good for dissipating heat. Once again, we've got a laptop with a ton of dust clogging the air exhaust, but once we clean that out, it should definitely run a whole lot cooler. The graphics card is also socketed and quite easy to remove. Just like the CPU fan, it doesn't disappoint when it comes to the dust. You could totally insulate a house with that stuff. The next step was to strip it back further and clean out the casing. To give the speakers more bass, there's a pretty beefy little 5-watt subwoofer. I then brushed off the motherboard and bottom casing to remove as much dust as possible. There is also visible surface corrosion on the metal. Yes, that's correct, the chassis is a solid piece of metal. This damage also appears near the exhaust vent of the graphics card. The likely cause is that crazy amount of dust buildup. To clean out the fans, I used a brush and a vacuum to suck the dust out. I would have opened up the fans, but the casing is plastic riveted together, so unless I literally break them apart, I won't be getting inside. Using some methylated spirits and a toothbrush, I removed as much debris as I possibly could. While I had the vacuum out, I also went over the keyboard, which thankfully doesn't look too bad. To get into the hard to reach places such as the exhaust vents, I used some Q-tips. A lot of scrubbing didn't seem to have much effect on the corrosion, sadly. The Torx T8 screws hold the Radeon 9700's cooler in place. Now we've got a good look at the processor die itself. Using some isopropyl alcohol, I cleaned the surface. I find it interesting that the screen connects directly to the graphics card with the connector seen here. On closer inspection, it looks as if there is a very thin thermal pad that's been used in place of traditional thermal paste. With persistent scrubbing, I managed to get the surface back to bare metal. The same thermal pad was also used with the CPU. How effective this was, I'm not too sure. Last of all, I cleaned off the CPU die, and with the cleaned out fan in place, I applied my thermal paste of choice, Arctic MX4. The same spring-loaded screws could now be tightened. I then did the same with the graphics processor. The reassembly could now begin. The freshly pasted GPU slotted back into place firmly. I'm very happy with how clean I got the exhaust fans. I actually nearly forgot to put the subwoofer back in place. Once it was in, I clipped the top casing back on. Several more Phillips head screws went in before I could reattach the display. To stop the hinge screws coming loose, I applied some thread locker to the screws. I may have actually used a little bit too much, but I don't think that'll really be a problem. With a bit of wriggling, I got the Wi-Fi antennas through, put the keyboard back in, and clipped the final plastic piece back on. Finally, all the remaining screws and panels could be put back in place. Now that we've got the laptop back together, I think it's time we give it a much needed cleaning, starting things off with a bit of eucalyptus oil. The casing of this laptop is particularly grubby, with a fair amount of it coming off with eucalyptus oil. Some areas required a bit more scrubbing to clean up, although I'm pretty sure some of the paint is also coming off. To clean off the display, I dampened a paper towel with water and gently wiped it to remove any debris. I followed that up with a microfiber cloth and some lens cleaner. That's definitely a lot better now. The top casing also seemed to benefit from a solid wipe down. Thankfully, the Inspiron 9200 still turns on, so at the very least, it's survived the surgery. It's always sweet music to my ears hearing that startup chime. The first game we're going to try out is Minecraft. Newer versions of the game simply won't run. After much trial and error, I got it starting up using release version 1.5.1 from 2013. With the graphics settings set fairly low, I was surprised to see it get frame rates between 10 and 30. You've got to keep in mind that this is running at the full resolution of 1920 by 1200, which is pretty impressive. The next game is Far Cry. Running at 1920 by 1200, low graphics settings, it was somewhat playable. Taking things back to the year 2000, we've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Running at the highest resolution of 1024 by 768, this laptop is clearly overkill as it runs at a perfectly smooth frame rate. A game that came out just after this laptop was released is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Running at 1280 by 800, medium settings is a good experience. Even on a densely populated map, it's very playable. Another game that's very playable is Grand Theft Auto 3. Even at a high 1920 by 1200, it runs very well. Unsurprisingly, Age of Empires 2 has no problem whatsoever running on this laptop. Although the game doesn't support widescreen, the stretched image isn't too distracting and I had a lot of fun playing. Today, we're going to be taking a look. When it comes to YouTube playback, I couldn't seem to get it running very well. If you don't mind a very choppy frame rate, at 480p, you can technically watch YouTube on here. There's not too much more we've got to do. Old school RuneScape runs pretty well in the small window mode. When you go to full screen, it definitely struggles. But if you keep it in the small window mode, you could get by playing it on this laptop. Last of all, I tried running a drive speed test. The 4200 RPM drive was, unsurprisingly, very slow. I really love that instead of cramming in a number pad, they've put in a really nice, well spaced out keyboard. Honestly, this is one of the best laptop keyboards I've ever typed on. Even though the battery does hold a charge, the estimated runtime is only 10 minutes. For a 16-year-old laptop that's clearly been used quite heavily, that's actually kind of impressive. While I could definitely add more RAM and a much faster hard disk, there's something special about using an old laptop that hasn't seen any upgrades whatsoever. To get an idea of how thick this laptop really is, here it is compared against a 12-inch Apple MacBook, and a 2009 13-inch MacBook Pro, as well as a 12-inch iBook G3, and finally a Getac ultra-durable laptop. This is the only laptop I have that's thicker as far as I know. That thickness got you a very capable 17-inch laptop in 2004. It may have only had a single core CPU, but it really did impress me with what you can do. It's also interesting seeing the model listed on an archived version of Dell's website from late 2004. I'm really glad that I cleaned this old laptop up, and I can only imagine how much it's been used over the last 16 years, and I'll be sure to keep it for many more years to come. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you've liked this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing. Anyway, I'll see you in next week's video.